Hi everybody. I hope that my whoops, I'm listening to myself on here. Okay, so I hope that my volume is better this time. I have my speaker out here and or my microphone out here, so I hope that it's picking me up okay. And I'm also using a different webcam, so hopefully everything is coming through okay. Hopefully you can still hear the music and it's not too loud. I'm still getting used to this setup. Okay. So yeah, if anything ever seems funky, just drop me a message in the chat and I will try my best to fix it. I'm also with Unity, because I need Unity and then I also need Visual Studio. I'm using some hotkeys to swap between them, so let me just... So hopefully now you should be seeing Visual Studio. Yes, okay. So Visual Studio is where my code is, and then Unity is where I'm doing my actual game development. So I'm going to try to remember to swap back and forth between them. But again, if I'm ever seem like I've forgotten to do that, please just let me know and I will swap back. Okay, I'm going to go back to Unity now. Okay, so today we're going to be continuing work on my sort of expanding and revising my Game Dev TV Game Jam game submissions. So this was a 2D game that I made for the Game Jam back in May. I'm pretty happy with how it looks so far. I'll just give you a little preview again. I've got the audio muted, so hopefully it's not coming through. You can see there's some weird stuff happening on the screen. These are things that I've added in my previous streams. So basically, it's like a sort of the basis for the game was like a concentration type game. So you click the graves that are not sparkling, and you want to get all of them. So you can see here up at the top that there's 11 graves in this level. And you want to get them all before the timer runs out. And this is a timer up here, this little moon moving across the screen. So that was fine. It was good, but I wanted to add some more elements to it. So I've been working on adding in some more obstacles for the players. So one of the obstacles is this. Let's just see here. So this little white thing is an animation that's blocking the raycast. So it's making it so that the idea is like the player is going to be like, oh my god, I have to click this grave to win, but the animation is blocking the raycast is blocking the grave from being clicked. So that's one thing I've put in. I know it's just like an ugly white orb right now, but eventually I will make it something prettier. And then the second enemy, I'm calling it enemy prefab that I'm using here, is this little red dot. And what it is doing is it is finding any graves that have been previously dug and refilling them. So there are a couple of different things. I just basically got the baseline in last time, but there are a couple of different things I have to add. First of all, the problem is that when I have the red dot refill a grave, it's no longer adding that grave. It doesn't add the grave back to the total number of graves that you need to dig for the level. So that's one problem. And the other problem is that it's making it so that I can't dig the grave, and it's basically just considering it empty no matter what. And you can see that it just continues to go to that grave over and over again because it thinks that grave is empty. So we're gonna try to fix those two things, just making sure everything is okay. And I'm gonna have to figure out how I'm gonna fix it. And so I built this game, like I said, a few months ago. So where I have everything in the scripts is a little bit up in the air because I can't remember, and I was doing this game really quickly. So I'm looking for the script that controls the the UI up here. So it might be game timer. No, that's not it. Splash screen, points might be, is it points manager? Maybe. Oh my gosh, and I have like a whole bunch of, oh here, let me swap over to my code. Just make sure that that's over. Whoops. So hopefully, yes, we're over in code. Okay, so I have a bunch of ugly commented out things that I was probably thinking of using at one point. If you're new to Unity, usually in the Visual Studio scripts, you have these commented out things here. Start is called before the first frame update. An update is called once per frame. That's just a reminder for you, but you can just get rid of those. You don't need them. And in fact, a lot of people I know, just when they start a new script, they just get rid of the start and update methods, like basically right away. You can always just add them back in. You just have to do void start and void update. And yeah, you don't need those little comments in there to tell you what's going on. You'll also notice at the top of the script, I usually leave these two in, the system collections and system collections generic. If you ever see a namespace up here that is grayed out like this, it means that it's not currently being used. So sometimes what will happen is like you'll add, so I've added this Unity Engine UI. Make sure I'm still in code here. Okay, I've added this Unity Engine UI namespace here because I want to use UI elements. So somewhere in here I must have UI elements, probably the slider. So the slider is a UI component, so I need to use, yeah, so when I'm getting component slider here, that's a UI element, and if I didn't have this using Unity Engine.ui, I wouldn't be able to get a hold of it in the start method. But sometimes like you'll add that in and then you'll revise your script later and you'll see that some of these namespaces are grayed out, so you can just get rid of them. TM Pro up here signals that I must be using TextMesh Pro somewhere. I am here. I'm serializing a TextMesh Pro field, but I wonder, since it's commented out, oh no, there I am. Yeah, so I'm getting a component, TextMesh Pro down here. So once again, if I didn't have that TM Pro namespace, I wouldn't be able to get a hold of the TextMesh Pro components. And I'm just gonna check my, hopefully my video image isn't blocking too much on the screen. It's so difficult when you're working with Unity because you need to be able to see so many different components on the screen. Like I have the console at the bottom, I have the hierarchy, I have the inspector. So I've just sort of tried to tuck my video down in the corner there, and hoping that it doesn't get too much in the way. Okay, so back to what I was actually talking about. I'm still looking for casting this element, and I'm going to open up my scene view here and go into the UI. So this piles remaining. So yeah, looks like I have a pile counter script. And I don't think I went back into Unity there, but now I'm back in Visual Studio anyway. So pile counter script. So the piles remaining is get dirt piles. Piles remaining is treasure piles minus piles. And then I'm casting it to the string, which is then putting it up in the UI. So the piles remaining. Okay. So generate pile counter. I'm sorry, I'm just trying to figure out, this happens so often that you write a bunch of code, it works, then you come back to it and you are like, I have no clue what I was doing here. Generate pile counter. Treasure piles is all the dirt piles. Piles remaining minus treasure piles equals piles. Okay, now where's that piles? Oh, it's coming over from something else. Okay, and then find treasure. Piles remaining. If piles remaining equals 0 or less than or equal to 0, then start the win sequence. So I want to basically, I think, be calling this find treasure. method again when I redig the pile. But first what I need to do is, or actually I think what I should do, let's go to my enemy script. And I had my enemies called 2 different things. That's right. I had them called a filler. And that's, I guess, the one we want. Okay. So this is what I've been doing on the stream the last couple of weeks, is doing this filler enemy script. So it's basically checking to see whether or not the grave is empty. If it's not empty, then look for another grave that is empty, because the filler only wants to go to empty graves. And once it reaches the empty grave, so once I have this bool in here, so if reach target, then play an audio source, which was a little bit funky last week. I'm not sure if the audio source is actually working. And then it's going to fill the grave, destroy the game object. So it's going to destroy itself, the enemy. So right here is where I want to, so add grave back to remaining graves. Okay, so let's close down some of these scripts. Lantern, grave spawner. Oh my gosh, no. Points manager. And I must have changed something. Number of points. No. Now, where was I just on? Grave, fear manager, pile counter. That's it. So piles remaining. I'm just going to put another method in here. So I'll just call it add pile. And I will just do that. Let me actually zoom down so you can see what I'm doing. Yeah, so I'm just going to add an extra method. Oh, hi, Paula. Okay, so I'm just going to add an extra public method, and I want to make it public so that way I can access it from my other scripts. And I don't want to have to do this. Yeah, once it comes into, since this script is sitting on a prefab, I can't really serialize the field. But what I can try to do is do a find object of type to see if it can find the pile counter. And where did this, yeah, there it is. Okay, so first what I'm going to do is just put a null check in here. So if find object of type pile counter, and I'm just going to do print statement found the pile counter, because I need to be able to get a hold of that. So if this wasn't a prefab, then I can, oh, thank you. Yeah, it's super fun working with the overlays. I still feel like I have absolutely no clue what I'm doing, but it's something different. Yeah, so since this is a prefab that's coming in, it's hard to hook up a prefab to something that's already existing in the hierarchy. So I really don't like doing find object of type because it doesn't work a lot of the time. It's a lot better to have a reference to something that actually exists in the scene and then to do a get component on that object so you can get a hold of the script that way. But let's just... and you know what I'm going to do too is I'm going to throw this in start so that way we don't have to wait for this condition to run. So here's where I want to do it. So to do add empty pile or add filled pile back to the total. Okay, and then I'm going to just throw this in start for now. And I'll put an else in. No pile counter found, and I think my screen is down. I don't think you can probably see what I'm doing here, but I'm just moving the null check up into the start method, so that way I can check for it. Of course, Unity needs to compile. Sometimes that can take a while. Don't freak out if it does. Okay, we're back in Unity. I'm gonna get my console open here, and I'm sure there's probably like a million messages I have in here that are gonna screw me up. Okay, so yeah, so there we go. So I can see right away in my console. I'm not sure if you can see this on the stream or not. So this is the console down here. If you're a coder, then you probably are used to using a console. This is where your debug log messages go. I often use this to identify a game object. So you can do like print gameObject.name, and that'll tell you like where a script is or what object is colliding with another object. That sort of thing. It's a little more complex than that, but that's the idea. So you can see here that there's the print statement, found the pile counter. So hopefully that means that the filler enemy, which is the red enemy, found the pile counter when it came into the scene. And the pile counter is static, like it stays in the scene the whole time, so it shouldn't have to be refinding it. So I'm gonna just go back into Visual Studio if I can. Yeah, I feel like I need a better way of doing this because it's not fun. But if I had my Visual Studio on the screen at the same time as Unity, it would take up a lot of space. So this is sort of what I got for now. Okay, so I'm going to take those two if statements, and I'm going to throw them down, back down to where I have the to-do. I'm going to run the null check once again, to make sure that, like, once again, the find object of type can be not great. Like sometimes you'll run it before the object that you're looking for has spawned in the screen, so it depends on how, like, what hierarchy you're using. Sometimes I've had to like throw it in an awake method as opposed to a start method or an update method, just so it catches it right off the bat when the game loads. Okay, so then if we found it, we're going to do, I should probably assign this to a variable, but let's just do it like this. And then, whoops, we need the method add pile, I think. Okay, and then back over in the pile counter script, I probably need to cast that again. So once again, I'm just going to see if this is showing. Yeah. So you can see on my other methods here that I'm throwing the number of piles up. I'm casting it as a string so that you can see it up in the UI. So I'll just do that again. So piles, text, equals piles remaining. Oh, I could have just copied the code. Okay, like that. And yes, I know there's a lot of repeated code here, but this is what I'm doing. Okay. Another thing I want to do quickly is I want to increase my fear timer. So what's happening, there are two conditions in which you can lose the game. The first one is that your timer can run out. So I've already increased the timer so that it's such a pain when you're trying to test when you keep losing. So I need to make the game easier so that I can test the things that I'm doing. So I've already increased the timer. And then the other way you can lose is if you get the fear, what do I have this called? Fear meter. So let me just go back in. Yes, so this is the timer up here with the little moon, and then this is the fear meter that I was talking about. So if you get 3 strikes on the fear meter, then you also lose, and you can lose pretty quickly. So I want to increase that. Oh, can you actually hear the keyboard? Oh, I hope it's not too loud. It's sort of like ASMR, I guess. Okay, so I want to increase the fear meter. And I'm not sure how or where I'm setting the values. So here's fear meter. If you always remember that when you've clicked on an object in the hierarchy, you can go over to the inspector on the right hand side, scroll down, and you'll see any scripts that have been attached. You can also, in the hierarchy, search for it. Can you search for a script? You can at least search fear, which will bring up the fear meter, and that's the information that I need. Okay, so let's go to Fear Manager. Another script that I can't remember what I'm doing. Okay, so the max value of the slider is max fear. Okay, and so once it reaches max fear, yeah, okay, so I think we can just pump up this max fear value, and I'm honestly going to put it at like 10, just to make sure that I have lots of time. Okay, so let's try this again. So I have 15 piles to start, and that should be randomized. Ah, okay. So I'm thinking that that UI string update there is happening in an update method, which is why it's going crazy. So let's just take a look at that. And actually, before I do that, I just want to check. I already know that's screwed up. So let's just check and make sure that our fear meter, yeah, it looks like it's counting up a lot more slowly. Just want to make sure. And I see something else I need to fix as well. Okay, so let's go back into our script. So pile counter, so add pile, and we're adding pile in the filler. Yeah. Okay, so that's not going to work that way. Yeah, that's a problem. We'll just take that out for now. One other thing I want to do is, I'm trying to think of where this is. I think it's on the lantern. So how I have it right now is that you lose control of the cursor when the lantern is on. Yes. So cursor visible false. I'm just gonna, I know you can't see this in Visual Studio, but I'm just gonna change that code so that the cursor always stays visible, and I just want to check that. So this was something that some people complained about when I actually submitted the game for the Game Jam, is to sort of ramp up the difficulty. I made it, yeah, okay. I made it so that when you hit the light button, your cursor disappears. And I thought I wanted to do that because I thought it might be too easy to like click really fast through the piles. But it is pretty disorienting, so I just turned that off. So just right here, I've just commented it out in case I want to put it back in. So cursor visible, or cursor.visible equals false. And I don't think I had to return it on because it was a, yeah, it's because it was a coroutine. Cursor visible equals true. I mean, that's sort of redundant, but whatever, I'll just leave that in. Okay, so let's go back to our other problems. So we have the filler. Yeah. So I'm not really sure how I'm going to do this. Where's my pile counter? Okay, we're done with that script. So we want to add a pile. Whoops. Oh, no, I just closed it. Okay, there we go. Yeah, shoot. So I want to add a pile here. But I only want to do it once. And this entire update method is like a complete mess. There are way too many if statements. This is how I got it running. I mean, I can put this in a separate method. I'll put void fillgrave. Let's refactor this a little bit. So we will take this out. And there's no else, so that's okay. Oops. I really need to be using the refactor tool inside Visual Studio. I always do it manually, and then I always have it totally screw up for me. Okay, so fill the grave, then this is where we're going to add to the pile. Otherwise, no pile counter found. So that's the null check there. Yep. And then the timer started is this. Whoops, let's indent that. So if the timer, if it's reached its lifetime, the max lifetime of the enemy, then destroy it, and then we need to just curly bracket that. Okay, so that's good. I'm not sure what this enemy fade in was. I guess that's something I was trying to do last time. Yeah, that's a little bit better. And I'm gonna pull this, oops, I'm gonna pull this method up as well. So it's closer so I can see it. Yeah. Just wondering, because sometimes you can get around this by doing, if I make the pile counter, if I make the remaining piles a public, which I'm not thrilled about, but let's just see what happens if I do this. And then if I go to the filler and can you do it like that in a call like that? Okay. I'm just curious if this actually is any different. It probably isn't. I really don't like using public variables if I don't have to. Yeah, okay, so same thing. It's interesting because you can see how many times it's running there. Okay, so we definitely want to say add pile. And pile added. I'm just going to see if I can just boolean this up. If pile added. Well, once again, I forgot to switch into Unity, but honestly, you didn't miss much. It just didn't work again. So if pile added equals false, then add the pile. It's mad at me because I haven't actually declared this boolean. And then pile added equals true. Whoops. Okay, and then let's go declare this. Oh my goodness. Boo, boo, boo. I like to put all my different, or all my same types together. What did I call this? Pile added. Whoops. And I like to initialize it. You don't have to do that. Yeah, you don't have to initialize it. Some things you do, but you don't have to do that one, but I like to do it. Okay, so if not pile added, then pile added is true. And then did I? Yeah, okay. Yep, it's doing it again. It's still going because I'm wondering if it has something to do with the positioning, like if it's flying over there. Okay, so if it's reached the target, then it's gonna fill grave. I wonder if I just need to be so if it's not null. Okay, so this was another null check here, so I'm gonna get rid of this. Once again, I forgot to go back into Unity. You didn't miss anything. The same thing happened. I can show you here. So this is what happens when you try to do mathy things on the update method. Yeah, so you can see that lovely pile counter is going crazy. So we're gonna keep working on fixing that. Okay, so yeah, I'm gonna get rid of this. This was another null check, so I'm just checking to make sure that it's basically looking for the animator, which is sort of like the controller for an animation on a game object. So I was just checking to make sure that the grave, which the red filler enemy has selected, actually has an animator. Because if it doesn't have an animator, then I can't trigger the fill back in animation. So I believe I can get rid of this. And you know what? Just to be sure, I'm going to comment it out. I'm not actually working on this at all, not on stream, so I'm having to like re-educate myself every time I come on here. So if reach target, then audio source play, and then fill grave. So then maybe we'll, no. I'm gonna print reach target, and let's just see how many times it's actually saying that it's reached the target. Gotta remember to play it. Yeah, so it's running the reach target. Is this true down here in the console? It's over here, and I don't think you can see it because my video is blocking it, but right now it's at like almost 3,000. So for every frame that it's sitting on the object, it's running that reach target again. So that's what the problem is. Like I said, doing stuff in update is so necessary because you need to check for so many things. For enemies spawning, for events happening, for colliders going, but you end up having a whole bunch of booleans playing off of each other because or else Unity just sort of goes crazy and you can get into like stack overflows and stuff pretty easily, especially if you're trying to run like a for or a while specifically loop on an update is awful. Okay, so I'm gonna go back into my code. And I'm going to take out this print statement so we know that it's running a bunch of times. once again, I know I have way too many booleans, but this is what we're doing. Okay, so we're going to turn it on to true. If it's true, we're going to fill the grave and then set it back to false. That's still probably not going to do it because it's still probably registering those clicks as it's sitting on there. And this is something I was worried about last time too, is it's sometimes tricky to have an object in Unity, one game object, move over on top of another game object and then just register that one click. Sometimes you have to do some fudging with the code where you have the object sort of like move very close to the other target object, but not ever actually sitting on it. So I was sort of surprised last time that it seemed pretty easy, but maybe not. Yeah. So I think once again, I forgot to go back into Unity. It was doing the same thing once again. Oh my goodness. Okay, so needs to reach the target. I feel like I need to do something like a singleton here. Like set a game object and then check for it again. Yeah, but I can't think off the top of my head how I'm going to do this. The end of the day, I mean, I have the groundwork in here, so I know I'm going to add the pile here, and I think there's something really easy that I need to do, and I just can't think right now. So let's go on to another problem. Yeah, so the red circle is what I'm working on right now with I'm calling it a filler. So I've just sort of named my different enemies. And it is, here, let me go back into the code. So this is the script for the filler. And it's basically looking to see, it's trying to find any graves that have already been emptied, so that that the player's already clicked on and emptied, and then it's going back over and refilling them. So all of this stuff in update is basically letting it go and identify the correct grave. If it's found a not empty grave, then it basically just keeps rolling again until it finds an appropriate grave, and then it moves towards it. So this is is moving, so it's transformed out position, and it moves towards that selected grave. So the selected grave becomes the target, and then once it reaches the target, it triggers the fill grave method, which is now down here, where it triggers the animation basically to refill the grave back up. So the red enemy won't do anything until I have empty graves, because it doesn't have anything to do. Its movement relies on finding those empty graves. And I want it to, right now it's like hanging out, whoops, it's hanging out on the side of the screen. Let me see actually what's happening. Oh yeah, so you can see it's just sitting there not doing anything until I've emptied a grave, and then it goes over there and goes for it again. So I was thinking, like, how I have the white dot is that it actually appears on that, on the dirt pile, whereas the red one like shoots across the screen. I was thinking I don't want it like that, but it depends what sprite I end up using. Like, I was thinking of making the whole premise of this game originally was to have a gravedigger, like a caretaker. I was thinking like Dompe in Ocarina of Time, and having him come and like trudge across the screen and fill graves or do some stuff. So I was thinking of maybe having this mechanic be fulfilled by another sort of NPC, but we'll see how it goes. Yeah, so I was going to do that right now, make it so that the red circle is actually being either instantiated on the selected grave or being transparent until it reaches the selected grave. But I sort of like the shooting across thing. Like, I think that could be really interesting. And as I said, I'm just playing around, and I'll see what final form this actually takes. So another thing that I want to work on too is putting an overworld into the game. So in general, yeah, I have to get the sprite art on this is mostly not me. It's my husband who did it. He's the better artist of the two of us. So I have to get him to make me some new stuff. So yeah, I want to expand the game. Like, I want to expand the feel of the game. I want to have the levels be longer. I want to up the challenge, which is what I've tried to do by introducing the two new enemies. And then I want to have some sort of like overworld where the player starts. So I can just sort of tinker around with that now. So I'm going to just go into my scenes, and I did actually initially have a different level, which I was hoping was still in here, but it's not. I must have got rid of it. I'm gonna just duplicate my graveyard scene. Just wondering what that is. Oh, that's my post-processing. Okay, so this is Graveyard 1. I'm gonna just call this Overworld. And the two scenes will look exactly the same, but this is a little bit dangerous if you're working like this, because you want to make sure you're actually on the correct scene. So the scenes look exactly the same, but you can see up here in the hierarchy that it says Overworld now. Graveyard, Overworld. Something that I should have done that I didn't is created a core prefab that holds the main components of my scenes. So it's not so important here because this is just a really basic game that uses a canvas. But if you are doing 3D, you probably want to create a core prefab with your camera, your directional light, maybe your floor or your terrain. And you might also want to put like a persistent object spawner script on that core prefab, so that way it spawns every scene when you need it to. Or you can also do don't destroy on load, but you probably don't want to do that for all of those different objects. But for here, I'm going to keep the camera. I want to keep the event system. So the event system is something that comes up. It's automatically created when you create a canvas in Unity, and you need it for clicks. And actually in one of the freelance projects I'm working on right now, I've been struggling with this all day. I have a simulation I'm working on where when you reload the simulation, for some reason the input module in Unity is not registering my clicks anymore. So it's fine the first time you run it, it's usually fine the second time you run it, but if you retry it for a third time, suddenly the event system is not working. So I've tried don't destroy unload, I've tried a persistent object script, and I don't know. My controls for that simulation are on the camera, and there's already some sort of screwy stuff that's happening because the axes are mixed around. So I'm wondering if it has something to do with that, but anyway, so that's why the event system is here, and don't delete the event system. I see a lot of people who are like, oh, I'm not using this, I'm just going to delete it. No, you need to keep it. And because I'm using, I think this is an older version of Unity. I'm trying to think. I think this is 2020. I can't remember now because I use a couple different versions, but there's actually a new input module system that was introduced to Unity, I think last year. So sometimes you might see in the hierarchy a little warning saying like you're using the wrong version, input version, so you can upgrade it here. And then I do have a global volume for some post-processing. Post-processing in 2D is not as straightforward. I think that it is doing something because if I go back to my splash screen here and play it, yeah, so you can see there's some bloom coming up on this light here, and you can see over in the hierarchy that I have the global volume, which is basically what's controlling the post-processing. Okay, so that's good to know that that's actually doing something. And then I have the cursor controls, which I don't think I ended up using those. But it's basically like a raycast system that changes your cursor. One thing you can do if you ever just want it to be like a static cursor for your game is you can go to project settings. Is this where it is? Somewhere in here. It might be player settings. Let me see here. Somewhere in here. Version, default icon, default cursor. So you can select one, and I had a shovel at one point. Yeah, there it is. So you can just select a cursor, and yeah, there it is. So now I have a shovel cursor. So what I wanted to do, and I've put this in some of my other games, but I haven't done it here, is you can have a raycast system set up so that the cursor changes when you mouse over certain elements of your game. The problem, because this is a game that it takes place entirely basically on the canvas, which is a UI element, is that you have to use a different code. I think it's I pointer, something like that off the top of my head. I can't think of it. I think it's like I pointer exit and I pointer enter, something like that. So it doesn't work as smoothly as like if you were in a 3D game and you needed the mouse, the cursor to go over, like to identify 3D objects. But I can just leave it like that as the standard cursor. That's sort of fun. I don't know why that wasn't in there already. And then the lighting, I have the global light 2D. I think this is because I'm using the pipeline, and now I can't remember if I am. Oh, no. Don't clear all player profs, please. Yeah, so I'm using the universal render pipeline, and that's what allows me to have some of my stuff look lit up. So, yeah, okay, that's okay. That's basically what allows me to have the post-processing and have the lighting actually from the post-processing show up on the screen, and so that you can see it. And there's some other stuff you can do with the render pipeline too. Okay, so on the canvas itself, I'm going to get rid of the graves. So these are not supposed to be, if you have watched my previous streams, you probably know this, but these piles are not supposed to be squares like that. I did that just so that I could see what was going on. So I think it's in my prefabs here. Yeah, dirt pile. So the image on the dirt pile, I'm going to just turn it back down like that. So I'm basically just turning down the value here so you can see that it's very opaque and white. And if I turn it down, it's now transparent. So those are just markers that show Unity basically where to generate the piles of dirt, because this is being procedurally generated. So every time you play, the dirt piles will be in a slightly different arrangement. Else it would be boring, I think. So we'll get rid of that. This is my UI canvas. If I turn this off, yeah, that turns off the whole thing. So now where is my actual UI? Image. UI bar. Figure meter, game timer. Oof, this is not very well organized at all. Yeah, I feel like that should be like that. And then my UI canvas, I can turn off like that. And I see I have the piles remaining here, so I'll turn that off. So I don't want to get rid of these elements just yet because they may still be useful. So I'm just basically clicking them off in the inspector. So over here you can just toggle things on and off like that. And then this is the ground. And I'm actually glad I'm not working on prefabs because I can screw around with the sizing a little bit. Oh, that's the whole ground. Oh, I see. Okay, so that's the dirt background. And let's just increase this. Don't want it to look too stretched out, but that's sort of cool. And then I have the grave spawn points, which I don't want because I don't want the graves to spawn. So I'm just going to click those off as well so that I just have the dirt backgrounds. What I probably could do as well is just click off the individual scripts in the inspector, but let's just do that for now. And then, yeah, like I'm thinking I want to have some different, either some different mini games for people to do, or some, like a little shop or something like that. I'm just gonna start throwing some images on here. Gonna call this like location, so I know that there's a location over there, and then I'm gonna duplicate it and put one over here. And then I'll make a button in the center for actually playing. So I'm thinking of doing something to like having you play a certain number of rounds until the night is over, and then in the daytime you do stuff in the overworld, like resource management or something, and then at night is when you play. Oh my gosh, pardon me. But I'll just throw a button on here as well. I can't remember what font I was using. And yeah, I'll just crank the font up a bit. Oh, this isn't even a button, this is just text. So I want button text mesh pro. I was gonna say, why is there no image? Okay. And I'll just write like to the graveyard. I really like this super gothic font, but I think it's hard to read. And it looks a little bit blurry too. I'm wondering if I can fix that. So Text Mesh Pro is good because it has extra settings. So you can also just do regular text boxes. But Text Mesh Pro has different settings. Has underlay, lighting, glow. So underlay is like shadow. I'm just gonna leave it like that. And do I have any button images that I can throw on here? A little bit stretched out, but I'll change the font color. Okay, so that'll be my little button. Yeah, okay. And I'll name this button Graveyard Button. And there's gotta be somewhere, I'm not sure where I have my scene loader. Not even sure what the script is called. Blocker, spawner. Yeah, what I'm learning from looking at this again is this is so terribly, terribly organized. Because I don't even have, oh, I have a level loader, okay. Okay, so where is the level loader? Sitting. Oh, it's terrible. Where is it? Files remaining. Canvas? Oh, please. Oh, no, it's right on the canvas. Oh, no. Okay. I'm going to throw it on this high level canvas here. And it's going to have a whole bunch of serialized fields, yeah, that I don't want. You know what? I'm just going to make another script, which I shouldn't do, but I'm just going to do it. So I'm going to, with my object selected, I'm going to go over to the inspector and hit add component. And I'm going to call this overworld. Whoops, I can spell. New script, create an add. So when you add a new script in Unity, it'll go up to the highest level of your project assets folder. So even though I have a scripts folder here, it didn't go in there. It's sitting out here. So sometimes you might go into your scripts folder and be like, where'd it go? But it's because it's over here. But I'm going to put it in the correct folder. And because I'm going to be using Scene Manager, which is how you go from one scene to the other, I'm going to use, or put in, oh, I need to switch my code over, or my screen over. Okay, yeah. So I need to add the Scene Management namespace up the top. It's not Unite Engine, it's Unity Engine. Okay, like that. And like I was saying before, you can see that it's currently grayed out because I'm not actually using it for anything. So I don't think I need void or update or start or update here. I'm just going to make another, has to be a public method because I'm going to be calling it via a button. So load graveyard, and there's probably already a method for this in one of my other scripts, but we're just going to do it like this for now. I'm going to end up having to refactor like everything. I can see that it's pretty much a mess. So then we need to say scene manager, which we can now get a hold of because we're using the scene management namespace, load scene, and I'm gonna just use it via string. And I better make sure I know what it's called. Hold on, let me check. Graveyard, yeah. Okay. So now what I need to do, let me pull you guys back into Unity, is so on my button over here in the hierarchy, I need to scroll down, and where it says on click in inspector, I need to hit the plus sign and then drag and drop the object that has the script on it that I want to run. And then you should, for the where it says no function, you should be able to drop that down and choose the script, and then load graveyard is there. And if you ever see the script name but you don't see the method that you need, it's probably because you've made that method private instead of public, which I do all the time by accident. So then you just click that, so overworld.load graveyard. And I do have an event system, yeah. So if I didn't have an event system, then this wouldn't work. Yeah, okay, good. And it did the, I don't know if am I in Unity? Yes, I am. Okay. It did the fade in and out because I have the fader, so that's good. So let's just see that again. Okay, so to the graveyard. And I'm gonna do inside the graveyard itself too. I'm gonna make a button as well, and why not? I'm going to prefab it. So back in my overworld, I have my dirt background and my graveyard button. So I'm going to go into my prefab folder. I'm going to grab a hold of my graveyard button, and I'm going to drag and drop it down. And you know what? I think I already had a button for this exact purpose, prefabbed. But I don't think it really exists anymore. Okay, so there's my graveyard button. And then I'm going to go into my graveyard. And drop it in. And it's going to have to go on the canvas or else it won't show up properly. To the graveyard. And you know what? I should make this actually a prefab variant and not the actual prefab itself. So if you click on the prefab in your folder here, and you can do create prefab variant, because any changes I make to the prefab will also apply to the other instance of this prefab and the other scene. So prefab variant. And I'll call this overworld button. Okay, so there it is. Move it over. Make it smaller. Obviously the text is not good. Might be better to have a little image or something on it. I don't want it to say quit. I need a little image on it, but I don't have anything right now. And then let's just go back and make sure this hasn't screwed up. Yep, it looks okay. But I'd like there to be some way for the player to like quit the graveyard at any time and go back to the overworld, but of course they'll lose their progress on that session of grave digging. So there will be a penalty. And now I need to hook that up. Which makes me think that I'm gonna go into the UI canvas here because there's this other scene level loading script, and yes, this is getting confusing. And I'm gonna just go into that script and add a command there to go back to the overworld. So where's level loader? Okay, and so you can see I have a ton of methods in here. So let's just throw another public void in. Public void, load overworld. Scene manager, I think, should already, yeah. So I must already have the namespace. Okay. So I've just added that code in. And now let's go to the overworld button. We want to drag and drop in the UI canvas. Go to level loader and go to load overworld. And I wish that I could add something to this, like an image, but I don't think I have anything. Weird little arrow thing. A skull. It's stretched out. A little unhappy face. I always have all these weird sprites hanging around. Home. Maybe I'll do that for now. Okay, so there's a little home image on there. And you might have noticed that to add this, I had to click into the prefab to do it. So you can't add things to a prefab when you're in the hierarchy unless you either unpack that prefab or yeah, that's the only way, unless you unpack the prefab, which you can do by right clicking and go to prefab and then unpack or unpack completely. It's a little bit different. If you're using a different version of Unity, sometimes unpack prefab completely is just right in this main menu here. But to go onto the prefab, you just click this little arrow here and it takes you to the screen. And then you can make adjustments. And yeah, I don't want that text on there. So let's just click it off like that. Okay, nothing's happening. Okay, so this is a problem that you run into all the time in Unity, which is, let's make sure that you can see this. Yeah, so the overworld couldn't be loaded because it has not been added to the build settings. Okay, so you need to go to File, Build Settings, and that will bring up your, I don't know if you can see this, that will bring up your build settings screen. I don't think it's showing because it's a separate window, but it'll bring up a build settings screen. And then you need to drag and drop all of your scenes into the build settings. Close that down. Oh my gosh, I made it even bigger. And now let's just try that again. So build settings is where you put your active scenes. It's a list of your active scenes, and it's also where you can build your game from. So you can build for WebGL, or you can build for Linux, Mac, PC, or Windows. Okay, and so there we go. So now we're going back and forth between the two scenes, to Graveyard and home to the overworld. And I'm actually curious when it loads this whether or not it's going to save your player preference. So how I have it right now is that when you go into the game, you can select easy. Yeah, this shovel's sort of a pain to control. Easy, medium, or hard, and that determines how many charges of the light that you have. So if I go to hard, which I think should give me only 1 charge of the light. Yeah, so charges left 1. Then I go to the graveyard or to the overworld and then go back in. Okay, so I only have 1 charge. And you know what? I don't even think I have a way to get back to the main menu, which is interesting. So that would mean that the player is only choosing their difficulty once, which I suppose makes sense. It might be something that we want to have change. So let's just see here for the overworld. I'm going to add another prefab variant in. This is probably the last thing I'm going to do before I leave for the night. So I have my graveyard. You know what? I'm going to make a folder called buttons here because this is getting a little bit out of control. So I've got my graveyard button. I've got my overworld button, which is a prefab of the graveyard button. And so with the graveyard button selected, I'm going to make another prefab. So create prefab variant, and this is going to be called main menu. Okay, and I'm going to throw this in here. So we'll throw it up there. Should really be changing my anchors. So, whoops. This little, so hope you can see this. Yeah, this little pinwheely looking thing is the anchor. So it's basically showing where that object is going to be, its location is going to be determined by. So if you're building a game and then you're having people with different screens watch it, sometimes your objects might be like adjusting to different screen sizes. So that's why it's important to set your anchors so that way. So for example, I want to have this, it's going to be the main menu button. I want to have it in the top right corner. But initially its anchor was in middle center. So that's not great. So I just went into the inspector and I changed that, and you can see now that the anchor is up here in the top right corner. So for the main menu, I'm going to turn the text off again. I'm going to resize it. Oh, not that. I'm going to resize it again. And I'll go into prefab, add an image, and I'm going to add, I mean, this should almost be the home one. Maybe like that. That. Okay, I'm obviously spending too much time trying to decide on an icon that I'm just gonna change. But you know, sometimes that's fun. Okay, and now I need to find my overworld script. Open that back up. And I'm gonna just add a load main menu. So once again, a public method, and I'll do the splash screen if I can spell it. I think that's what I have it called. And once again, because it's a string reference, I need to make sure that that my name is correct. Let's just double check the name here. Splash screen, yep, okay. And then we have the main menu button. Scroll down, we're gonna pull the canvas in so that way we can use the function of load main menu, which is really the splash screen. And yeah, okay. So if I go here, and then let's say I'll put it on hard. Begin, I have 1 charge left. I'm gonna go back to the graveyard, then go in the game again. Yep. Okay, then go out to the start. Let's say I want to switch it to easy. 3 charges left. Let's go back to the overworld. Back to the graveyard. 3 charges left. Okay. That's good. So it looks like Player Crafts is working. Whoops. Okay. I think it's working. Okay, so that's good. I thought I might have to do something there, but it looks like I don't. So I think that's another thing the game was lacking before, was a way to restart it and to choose a different difficulty level. There might be a way when you lose. I might have put a quit button in. I can't remember. That's good. Just want to make sure that this is working okay. So yeah, unfortunately I didn't solve that problem tonight of the pile counter, which it's really bugging me still. I'm just looking at it one last time here. This is what I already did. But let's just try this again. Might have to set a specific property for each grave. Okay. Bring you back over. Oh, huh. Now I just keep clicking on it. Okay, that's better. And now it's broken the game. So that's very interesting. Fill the grave. Okay. So, oh, I don't think I brought you into Unity. Hold on, I'm gonna just fix something and then I'll bring you over. Or maybe the opposite, and I didn't bring you back into code. Either way, just give me a second here. Oh, you were stuck in Unity, okay. I'm just getting rid of a couple of null checks because they are crowding stuff up for me. Yeah, so it is working. It's actually putting the counter back up, but then nothing else is happening. Nothing else is spawning, probably because I've turned off a rule that needs to be on. Because the white enemies are still going, I believe. Oh, maybe they're not. Very interesting. Okay, so fill the grave. And then destroy the game object. So there's something about how the red ones are spawning as well, and this isn't something that I actually had nailed down. It just sort of worked last time in a suspicious way. So that's something I'm going to want to look at, is where the enemies are actually spawning. Piles remaining, game timer, lantern. Dirt background. There's the enemy spawner. I'm going to just open up, since I have my scripts open right now, I'm going to open up my enemy spawner script. Yeah, okay. Not sure why I had this commented out. So obviously there were problems with this last time, and I can't remember exactly what the problem was. But there must be a reason that I had it commented out on the start method, because I would think I want to run spawn enemy right away. But I guess not. So that's not actually being destroyed. That's my first problem. So on the filler, if the timer started is greater than or equal to the timer finished. Okay, so for some reason, so basically what's happening is the red enemy is supposed to destroy itself after a certain amount of time. But it's not doing that. I'm just going to put this timer started variable to the console, and let's just take a look at it. So it looks like the timer is stopping maybe once the animation is finished. So it's probably something that I've done here. So the timer starts at 0. And it's supposed to increase. And when does it end? Oh, you know what I think the problem might be is that I'm now instantiating the enemies in the start method. So this is probably why I had it turned off on the enemy spawner script, is because it's starting the timer earlier. Maybe that doesn't make much sense. Okay, well, regardless, I'm going to have to end it. Oh, I don't want to, but I'm going to have to end my stream there for the night because my kids need to go to bed. So, thank you guys so much for watching. I feel like I didn't accomplish that much tonight. There's some hitches in my code that I need to figure out. I think they probably were there last stream and I just got lucky and was able to sort of fudge around them. But that enemy spawner script is definitely screwing things up, especially because I have a timer attached to it. So next stream, hopefully maybe later this week, I'll do another stream and I'll take a look at that again. And I think my biggest problem with this project right now is that the scripts are such a mess. I have repetitive methods all over the place. So I really want to dive in and clean that up as well. It's driving me nuts when I'm working on it. But yeah, thank you guys so much for joining the stream. Thank you. And I know it's not that much to look at right now, the game, but it's getting there. I need some more artwork for sure to pretty it up and make it look better. Yeah, so thank you guys, and I guess I will see you next time. Bye for now.